Let's dive right into what Tableau is all about. Imagine you're trying to understand complex data numbers, trends, and insights that can help your business grow or solve problems. Well, Tableau makes this process easier by turning those raw numbers into visually appealing charts and graphs. It's like having a powerful tool in your hands that transforms boring spreadsheets into dynamic visual stories. So why is it called Tableau? Well, just as a tableau in art captures a scene or moment beautifully, Tableau software captures data moments for you to explore and share effortlessly. Now, let's break this down a bit more. When you open Tableau, you see a friendly interface that lets you drag and drop your data sources into the workspace. It's almost like building with blocks. Just grab some numbers or text files, connect them, and watch as they transform into visualizations. The best part about Tableau is its versatility. Whether it's sales figures, customer feedback, or even social media trends, Tableau can handle all types of data. Plus, you can share these visuals easily with others via email, presentations, or interactive web dashboards. It's a great way to communicate insights without overwhelming your audience with endless rows of numbers. Another cool feature is the ability to collaborate in real time. Imagine working on a project and being able to see changes as they happen. Tableau makes this possible by allowing multiple users to work together seamlessly, all from within the same dashboard or workbook. Now, you might be wondering how Tableau compares to other tools like Excel or SQL. While these are great for specific tasks, Tableau excels at visualizing large datasets and making them accessible to everyone on your team, not just those comfortable with spreadsheets. It's really about democratizing data, giving more people the power to understand it visually. In conclusion, Tableau is a powerful tool that turns complex data into clear visuals for better understanding and decision-making. From small businesses to large enterprises, Tableau helps tell compelling stories through its intuitive drag-and-drop interface and versatile visualization options. So let's dive right into why Tableau is such an excellent choice for data visualization. First off, it stands out because of its user-friendly interface. You don't need to be a coding whiz or have extensive programming experience to create beautiful and informative visualizations. It's really intuitive, which means anyone can pick up the basics pretty quickly. Now, why else do we love Tableau? Well, for starters, it offers an impressive array of chart types and customization options that allow you to present your data in a way that makes sense for your specific needs. Whether you're dealing with high-ticket sales or tracking low-volume transactions, Tableau can handle all sorts of datasets without breaking a sweat. Another key feature is its ability to blend different data sources seamlessly. Say you have customer information stored in one database and product details in another, no problem. With Tableau, you can bring these together effortlessly so your visualizations tell the whole story. Plus, it supports real-time updates, which means as soon as new data comes in, your visuals update automatically. Tableau also excels at making complex analyses accessible through interactive dashboards. These aren't just static images, but dynamic tools where users can drill down into specifics or zoom out for an overview with just a few clicks. This interactivity is incredibly valuable because it lets you explore different aspects of the data easily and see how changes impact the overall picture. Moreover, Tableau's strong community support means there's always plenty of resources available when you hit a roadblock or need ideas on how to visualize certain types of information better. Whether it's forums, blogs, webinars, or even local meetups, finding help is never far away. Lastly, don't forget about the scalability factor. As your business grows and data volumes increase, Tableau can scale up with you without compromising performance. This flexibility ensures that no matter where your company is in its journey, Tableau remains a reliable companion for all your visualization needs. In conclusion, Tableau's combination of ease of use, powerful functionality, seamless integration capabilities, interactive features, strong community backing, and scalability makes it an outstanding choice for anyone looking to visualize data effectively. Let's dive right into installing Tableau Desktop. So you've downloaded the installer from their website, and now what? First thing to do is make sure your computer meets all the system requirements for running Tableau Desktop smoothly. That includes having enough RAM and storage space. You can check these details on their official site. All right, so once you're ready, double-click that installer file to start the process. The welcome screen will pop up where it gives you an overview of what's happening during installation. Click Next there, and then enter your Tableau account information when prompted. If you don't have a Tableau account yet, no worries, you can create one right from this wizard. After logging in or creating your account, the installer will start downloading necessary files if it hasn't already done so. Once all the components are downloaded, installation begins automatically. This might take a few minutes depending on your internet speed and computer performance. When everything is installed successfully, Tableau Desktop will open up for you to explore its features right away. You'll see a splash screen welcoming you to Tableau with some quick tips if you're new to it. From here, you can start importing data from various sources like Excel files, databases, or even cloud services. That's pretty much the basic steps for getting started with installing and launching Tableau Desktop on your computer. Once familiarized yourself with the interface and basics of connecting data sources, you'll be well on your way to creating some awesome visualizations and dashboards. So there you have it, a quick walkthrough to get Tableau Desktop installed and ready to use. Welcome to our lesson on understanding the user interface. Let's dive right in and get familiar with this essential concept that makes your digital experience smooth and enjoyable. First off, let's think about what a user interface really is. It's essentially the space where you interact with a device or software. It could be your smartphone screen, a desktop computer, or even an app on your tablet. The UI is designed to make interactions intuitive and accessible for users like us. So every time you touch a button or scroll through a page, you're engaging directly with the user interface. Now, let's break down some key elements of a typical user interface. You'll often see things like buttons, menus, sliders, checkboxes, and text fields. These components are strategically placed to guide your actions and make tasks easier. For instance, if you need to adjust settings or change themes, these options usually have dedicated icons or labels that lead you there effortlessly. Another important part of a user interface is the layout design, how all these elements are arranged on the screen. Good UI designs follow certain principles like consistency, simplicity, and ease of use. A well-designed layout will help you navigate through tasks without confusion. For example, placing frequently used functions at the top or in a prominent area ensures quick access. Let's talk about navigation too. This is crucial for moving around within an application. Navigation bars, tabs, or links are common ways to move from one section to another smoothly. These elements help you keep track of where you are and give you options to explore further without getting lost. Now, let's not forget the importance of responsiveness in a user interface. This means how well it adapts to different screen sizes and orientations. For example, when you switch from portrait to landscape mode on your smartphone, the layout adjusts itself to fit the new orientation perfectly. This flexibility enhances usability across various devices. Finally, we should mention feedback mechanisms. These are essential for confirming actions or providing guidance. For instance, pressing a button might change its appearance slightly to show that it's been selected, or you might hear a sound indicating a successful action. These subtle cues make the interaction feel more natural and responsive. In conclusion, understanding your user interface is key to maximizing your experience with digital tools. By familiarizing yourself with these core elements components, layout design, navigation, responsiveness, and feedback mechanisms, you'll be able to use any application or device more effectively. So next time you're interacting with a digital tool, take a moment to appreciate how the UI designers have crafted it for your convenience. That's all for today's lesson on understanding the user interface. Thanks for joining us, and we hope this insight helps you navigate through digital tools more confidently. All right, everyone. Let's dive into something really exciting today: importing data into Tableau. Imagine you've got all this raw information sitting there, just waiting to be transformed into something visually stunning and insightful. That's where Tableau comes in. First things first, we're going to start by making sure your data is ready for import. It could come from a variety of sources: Excel spreadsheets, CSV files, databases like SQL Server, or Oracle, even cloud-based services such as Google Sheets or Salesforce. Whatever the source, make sure it's formatted correctly and doesn't contain any errors. Now, to get started in Tableau, open your application and click on Connect from the Start page. Here you'll see a list of various data sources. Let's say we're working with an Excel file. Select Excel from the options and browse to find your file. Once selected, choose which sheets or tables you want to import. Once connected, Tableau will display a preview of your data along with some basic metadata such as column names and types. This is where you can make adjustments if necessary, maybe change date formats or tweak how certain fields are recognized. After ensuring everything looks correct, click the Apply button to finalize the connection settings. Then hit OK, and Tableau will load your data into a new worksheet. Next up, let's talk about linking multiple tables together using joins. Suppose you have customer information in one sheet and sales details in another. To combine these in Tableau, go back to your data source window by clicking on the drop-down menu next to your newly connected data source. Select Edit, then navigate to the Join tab where you can link related fields. Finally, once everything is set up correctly, click OK again to apply changes and return to your worksheet. Now your combined data is ready for visualization. So there you have it: simple steps to get your data into Tableau. Remember, importing data effectively sets the stage for powerful visualizations and insights. All right, let's dive into today's topic: working with multiple data sources. Now, you might be wondering why this is important or how it can benefit your work. Well, imagine having all the information you need right at your fingertips, from different databases, spreadsheets, and even web APIs. It's like putting together pieces of a puzzle to see the bigger picture. First off, let's talk about the basics. When working with multiple data sources, we're essentially combining data from various places into one cohesive dataset. This can be done through SQL queries, Python scripts, or tools designed for data integration. The goal here is to streamline your workflow and make sure you have access to all relevant information in one place. Now, let's consider the challenges that come with this process. One of the biggest hurdles is ensuring consistency across different sources. You might find yourself dealing with varying formats, missing values, or even duplicate entries. That's where data cleaning comes into play. It involves scrubbing and formatting your data to make sure everything lines up nicely. Another challenge can be managing large volumes of data. When you're pulling from multiple sources, the sheer amount of information can be overwhelming. Techniques like sampling or aggregation can help reduce this volume while still maintaining the integrity of your analysis. So how do we go about combining these different data sources? Well, one approach is to use a scripting language like Python with libraries such as Pandas and NumPy. These tools make it easier to read in data from various formats and merge them together seamlessly. For example, you might have sales data in a CSV file and customer information in an SQL database. With the right scripts, you can pull these into one data frame for easy analysis. Another option is using ETL extract transform load tools like Apache Spark or Talend. These platforms are designed specifically for handling large datasets and offer robust features for merging different sources. Now, let's not forget about web APIs as a valuable source of data. Many companies provide access to their databases through these interfaces. With Python's requests library or similar tools, you can easily fetch this information and integrate it into your analysis. As we wrap up today's lesson, remember that working with multiple data sources is all about bringing together diverse pieces of information to gain deeper insights. Whether you're using scripts, ETL tools, or APIs, The key is consistency and efficiency in managing that data. That's it for now. Feel free to explore these techniques further and see how they can improve your workflow. Today, we're diving into the world of data visualization and learning how to create simple charts and graphs. Let's start off by talking about why these are important tools for understanding information at a glance. Charts and graphs help us see trends, comparisons, and patterns that might be harder to spot in raw numbers or text. First up, we'll look at bar charts, which are great for comparing quantities across different categories. To make one of these, you just need your data organized into columns showing the categories and their corresponding values. Then it's as simple as selecting the data and choosing bar chart from your chart options in Excel or Google Sheets. Next on our agenda is line graphs. These are perfect for visualizing changes over time or across a continuous range of values. To create one, you'll plot points at specific intervals along an axis and then connect them with lines. This makes it easy to see how something fluctuates from point to point. Pie charts are another common type that we should cover. They're useful for showing proportions or percentages out of a whole. Each slice represents a category's share relative to the total, which can help viewers quickly grasp what portion each item contributes to the overall picture. Don't forget about scatter plots too. These display relationships between two variables and are excellent for spotting correlations or outliers. To make one, you just need data with paired values plotted as points on a grid. Now let's talk briefly about choosing the right type of chart for your specific needs. It really depends on what kind of story your data tells. For instance, if you're showing growth over time, a line graph might be best. But if you want to compare different categories, then a bar or column chart could work better. Remember that consistency and clarity are key when designing charts and graphs for presentations or reports. Make sure the colors and fonts are easy on the eyes, labels are clear, and there's enough white space so nothing feels cluttered. To wrap up today's lesson, you now know how to create basic bar charts, line graphs, pie charts, and scatter plots using spreadsheets like Excel or Google Sheets. These skills will serve as a strong foundation for more advanced visualizations in the future. All right, let's dive into Tableau and explore the world of mark types. Mark types are an essential part of your visualization toolkit because they help you effectively communicate data insights to your audience. So whether you're creating a scatter plot or a bar chart, understanding how these marks work can make all the difference. Now, let's start with the basics. In Tableau, there are 5 main mark types: automatic, points, lines, shapes, and text. Each of these has its own unique way of displaying data points on your visualization canvas. For instance, when you drag a measure onto rows or columns shelf, Tableau automatically sets up your view using the automatic mark type. This typically defaults to a bar chart if there's only one measure or a scatter plot with 2 measures. But what happens when you want something more specific? Well, that's where selecting from the other mark types comes in handy. If you're working with a dataset that has many distinct values and you want to see each value clearly, choosing points as your mark type can be perfect for highlighting individual data points. It's great for scatter plots or geographic maps. For trends over time or sequential order, lines are the go-to choice. They connect data points in a way that visually represents progression and continuity. This is especially useful when you're dealing with time series data or any sort of sequence where you want to see how things evolve from one point to another. Shapes are incredibly versatile. You can use them for bar charts, scatter plots, or even geographic maps. The beauty of shapes is their ability to represent different categories visually in a way that's both recognizable and aesthetically pleasing. For example, if you're mapping out locations across the United States, using distinct shapes like squares or triangles helps distinguish between various cities or states. Lastly, text marks are fantastic for adding extra detail directly onto your visualization. They can show values, labels, or even custom text based on conditions in your data. This is particularly useful when you want to highlight specific information without cluttering the view too much. Now that we've covered the basics, remember that combining mark types can create powerful visualizations. For example, a dual-axis chart might use lines for one measure and shapes for another to compare trends and categories side by side. Experiment with these combinations and see how they enhance your data storytelling. So there you have it, an overview of Tableau's mark types and how they can be used in different scenarios. By mastering these basics, you'll be well on your way to creating compelling visualizations that effectively communicate insights from your data. Today, we're diving into the world of interactive dashboards and learning how to build them from scratch. Imagine having all your important data in one place where you can easily visualize trends, monitor performance, and make informed decisions quickly. That's what interactive dashboards do for us. Let's start by understanding what makes a dashboard truly interactive. It should allow users to explore different views of the same data, perhaps through filters or drop-down menus, so they can get exactly the information they need at any given moment. Think about it like flipping through pages in a book versus being able to click on sections and instantly see more details. To begin building your dashboard, you'll first need to decide what tools and platforms you want to use. Popular options include Tableau, Power BI, or Google Data Studio, but there are plenty of others out there too. Each has its own strengths depending on the type of data you're working with and how much customization you desire. Next up is gathering your data. This could involve pulling information from databases, spreadsheets, or even APIs if you're dealing with real-time data feeds. Once you have all your data in one place, it's time to start organizing it into meaningful categories and tables that will form the backbone of your dashboard. Now comes the fun part, visualizing the data. You can choose from a variety of chart types such as line graphs for trends over time, bar charts for comparisons between different items, or pie charts to show proportions. The key is to pick visuals that best represent your data and make it easy to understand at a glance. As you work on designing each section of the dashboard, think about how users will interact with it. Maybe they'll be able to select specific time periods from drop-down menus or filter results based on certain criteria like region or product type. The more intuitive these interactions are, the easier it will be for people to use your dashboard effectively. Don't forget about aesthetics and layout too. A clean design can make all the difference in how engaging and user-friendly your dashboard is. Use color schemes wisely, avoid cluttering with unnecessary information, and ensure everything is clearly labeled so users know exactly what they're looking at. Finally, test your dashboard thoroughly to make sure it's working as intended across different devices and browsers. Gather feedback from potential users to see if there are any improvements you can make before rolling it out more widely. That about covers the basics of building an interactive dashboard that will help you and others stay on top of important information efficiently. All right, everyone, let's dive into how we can enhance our visualizations with maps. Maps are powerful tools that help us understand spatial relationships and geographic data in a much more intuitive way. So whether you're looking at sales trends across regions or tracking the spread of an infectious disease, adding a map to your visualization can make all the difference. First things first, let's talk about why incorporating maps is so beneficial. Maps offer context that numbers alone might not convey. For instance, if we're visualizing population density, a map would instantly show us which areas are more crowded compared to others at a glance. This kind of spatial awareness helps identify patterns and outliers that could otherwise be missed in tabular form. Now, let's get into how you can actually implement maps in your visualizations. There are several tools out there like Tableau, Power BI, and even Python libraries such as Folium or GeoPandas that make adding maps to your work pretty straightforward. Start by importing your geographic data. This could be anything from simple latitude-longitude pairs to more complex polygon shapes. Once you've got the data ready, choose a suitable map projection depending on what region you're focusing on and how accurate distances need to be. For example, Mercator is great for navigation, but tends to distort areas near the poles. So if your visualization includes those regions, you might want to look into alternatives like the Winkel-Tripel or Robinson projections. Next up, think about what kind of map elements will best suit your needs. Do you need just a simple base map with markers? Or perhaps some choropleth maps, where colors represent different values across areas? Maybe even a heat map for density-based visualizations. Now, let's talk about styling these maps to make them more engaging and easier to interpret. Use contrasting colors carefully so that they're visually appealing, but also readable. For instance, bright red might stand out well against a light background, but could clash with dark ones. And don't forget about accessibility, consider adding labels and tooltips for clarity. Finally, let's touch on interactive maps. They can really bring your visualizations to life by allowing users to zoom in on specific areas or hover over points of interest to see detailed information. Tools like Leaflet or Google Maps API are perfect for this kind of interactivity. So there you have it, a quick overview of how to incorporate maps into your visualizations. Just remember, the key is to choose the right map type and style that best communicates your data's story while also being visually engaging. All right, everyone, let's dive into our lesson on applying filters to refine views. Imagine you're looking for that perfect shirt in a store window, and suddenly everything becomes clearer when you narrow down your options by color or style. That's exactly what we're going to do here, but with data instead of clothes. First off, why use filters? Well, think about it this way. Filters act like magnifying glasses, helping us see only the information that matters most for our specific needs. They help us focus on high-ticket items if you're a salesperson, or zero in on student performance if you're an educator. Now let's talk about how to apply these filters. Start by identifying what criteria are important to you, such as price range, location, date, or any other relevant factors. Once you know your criteria, look for the filter options usually located at the top of a list view or within the search settings if it's an advanced search. Next step is to select and apply those filters one by one. For example, let's say you're searching through emails in your inbox and want to see only those from last week that are marked as important. You'd first filter by date range, then narrow down further with the important tag. This way, you can quickly locate what you need without having to skim through all the emails. Now, here's a tip. Always preview your filtered view before finalizing it. Sometimes filtering too aggressively might hide valuable information that could be useful later on. So take a moment to review everything after applying each filter and adjust if necessary. To wrap up, filters are powerful tools for refining views in any data-driven application or platform. By carefully selecting the right criteria and previewing your filtered view, you can save time and focus on precisely what you need. This makes managing large amounts of information much easier and more efficient. That's it for this lesson. Remember to practice applying different filters whenever you're working with lists or databases. All right, everyone, let's dive into today's topic, sorting data for better insights. Imagine you've got this big pile of information sitting there, all mixed up and jumbled. How do we turn that chaotic mess into something useful? Well, the answer lies in sorting our data effectively. First off, why bother with sorting at all? It's like organizing your closet when everything has its place. It's easier to find what you're looking for quickly. In data analysis, this means identifying patterns and trends faster, which leads us straight to better insights. All right, let's break down the process into some simple steps. Start by understanding the type of data you have: numerical values, categorical information, or dates perhaps. Each requires a different sorting method. Next up is deciding how to sort it. For instance, if we're dealing with sales figures, we might want to sort them from highest to lowest to spot those high-ticket items first. Or maybe we're looking at customer feedback and need to group responses by sentiment: positive, neutral, or negative. Once you've chosen your sorting criteria, it's time to apply these rules and watch as the data falls neatly into place. This visual organization makes spotting outliers or anomalies much easier, giving us that crucial first look into what might be going on under the surface. But wait, there's more. Don't forget about filtering. After you've sorted your data, you can filter out specific subsets to focus on particular areas of interest. Say we're looking at quarterly sales figures and want to compare each quarter against last year's numbers. That's where filters come in handy. All right, let's wrap this up with a quick recap. Sorting data is key for gaining better insights. Start by understanding your data type. Choose an appropriate sorting method based on what you need to discover. Apply these rules consistently. And don't forget about filtering subsets of information for deeper analysis. So there we have it. Now go forth and sort your way to discovering those hidden gems in your datasets. All right, folks, welcome back. Today, we're diving into the world of creating basic calculated fields. This is an essential skill if you want to manipulate data and get those insights that make your work easier and more efficient. So let's start with the basics. What exactly are calculated fields? Well, they're essentially formulas or expressions that perform calculations using other fields in a database. These can be as simple as adding two numbers together or as complex as applying conditional logic to return specific values based on certain criteria. To begin, open up your database software and navigate to where you want to add this new field. Let's say we're working with a customer database and we want to calculate the total sales for each customer by combining their individual transaction amounts. First step, go to the table where you have your customer's information, click on the button to add a new field, and name it something like total sales. Now comes the fun part: creating our formula. In most database software, there's typically an option to enter formulas directly into fields, or even better, in some cases, you can use a dedicated formula editor. For this example, let's assume we have two other fields, one for sales made on weekdays and another for weekends. The formula would simply be the sum of these two fields. So if your weekday sales field is named weekday sales and weekend sales are in weekend sales, you'd enter something like weekday sales, weekend sales. Once you've entered that, hit save or apply depending on your software, and voila! Your new calculated field will automatically update whenever the values of weekday sales or weekend sales change. Now, let's take this a step further. Say we want to identify high-ticket customers who have made purchases over a certain amount, let's say 1,000. We can create another calculated field called high-ticket customer and set it up with an if statement. So, something like, if total sales 1,000, yes, no. This way, if the total sales for any customer exceed $1,000, their record will show yes, making it easier to target those high-ticket customers. And there you have it, simple but powerful ways to use calculated fields. By adding them to your database, you're not only streamlining data management, but also gaining deeper insights into your data. So next time you're working with databases and need to perform quick calculations or want to categorize information based on certain criteria, don't hesitate to whip up a few calculated fields. They'll make your life easier and help bring that nitty-gritty detail work into sharp focus. That's it for today's lesson. Thanks for joining me, and I hope you're feeling confident about creating those basic calculated fields now. Today, we're going to dive into some advanced calculation functions that will take your Excel skills up a notch or two. So, if you've been using basic functions like sum and average all this time and feel like you could use a bit more firepower in your calculations, then you're in the right place. Let's start by talking about array formulas. These are powerful tools used to perform multiple calculations on one or more arrays of data. For instance, instead of manually adding up values from two different columns, you can simply use an array formula, and Excel will do all the heavy lifting for you. Now, here's a quick example. Suppose we have two columns named A and B, each containing a list of numbers. If we want to add these together, we typically would use sum or some other function, but with an array formula, it could look something like this: A1, A5, B1, B5. Next up is the if statement. This function is incredibly versatile and can make your calculations dynamic based on conditions you set. For example, if you want to mark high-ticket sales as important and others as regular, you might use a formula that looks like this. If a 2100 important regular. Easy peasy. Another gem is the VLOOKUP function. This baby helps find specific values in tables or arrays of data based on given criteria. It's super handy for cross-referencing information across different sheets or workbooks. Let's say you have a list of employee IDs and names and want to quickly retrieve someone's name without scrolling through all the rows manually. Now, let's not forget about the concatenate function or its shorthand form. These are perfect when you need to join text strings together in your spreadsheets. Imagine needing to combine first and last names into a full name for mailing labels. Concatenate can do this seamlessly. For instance, concatenatia 2, B2. Lastly, don't forget about the power of nested functions. These allow you to embed one function inside another, creating complex calculations from simple building blocks. For example, combining IF with average can give you conditional averages based on criteria you set. So there you have it. We've covered array formulas, IF statements, VLOOKUP, concatenate, and nested functions. These advanced calculation functions are powerful tools that will help make your Excel work more efficient and precise. Keep practicing them and see how they can transform your spreadsheets from simple to sophisticated. Today, we're diving into the world of customizing colors, fonts, and backgrounds to make your presentations truly stand out. Let's start with colors because they set the tone for everything else. Imagine you're painting a picture. Wouldn't it be fun to choose vibrant shades or soothing pastels? In our design software, there are plenty of color options available from basic hues all the way to high-ticket custom colors that match your brand perfectly. Now let's talk about fonts. Fonts can make or break a presentation. They need to be readable but also catch the eye. For example, you might use a bold font for headings and a more subtle one for body text. Think of it like this. You want your audience to notice the important parts without getting distracted by too much fancy typography. As we move on to backgrounds, think about how they can enhance or detract from your message. A simple solid color can be very elegant, while an image background can add a lot of visual interest, but make sure it doesn't overpower your content. You could even use textures or gradients for that extra flair. To wrap up, remember that colors, fonts, and backgrounds are powerful tools in your design arsenal. Use them wisely to convey emotion, set the mood, and guide attention where you want it. So go ahead, experiment with these elements until you find that perfect combination that speaks directly to your audience and makes your message shine brightly. Thank you for joining me today, and happy designing. All right, everyone. Let's dive into today's lesson on applying conditional formats for clarity in our spreadsheets. Imagine you're looking at a sea of numbers and trying to find important data. It can be like searching for a needle in a haystack. But with conditional formatting, we can make this process much easier by highlighting specific cells based on their values or formulas. First things first, let's open up Excel and load our spreadsheet. For this example, I'm going to use a sales report that tracks monthly revenue for various products. Our goal is to highlight the high-ticket items so they stand out from the rest. To do this, we'll go to the Home tab, then click on Conditional Formatting. Here you can choose from several options, but today, we're going to focus on using rules based on cell values. Now, let's select the cells containing our product revenue data and set up a rule that highlights any value greater than 10,000. Once you've applied this format, your high-ticket items will immediately catch your eye and make it easier to identify which products are driving significant sales. But wait, there's more. Conditional formatting isn't just about highlighting individual cells. We can also use formulas to apply formatting based on complex criteria. For instance, if we want to highlight any month where the total revenue increased compared to the previous month, we could set up a rule that checks for positive differences between consecutive months. All right, let's walk through this step by step together. Go back to conditional formatting and choose New Rule. This time, instead of picking from predefined rules, select Use a formula to determine which cells to format. Then enter the formula B2B1, where B represents your revenue column and 1 and 2 represent consecutive months. Make sure you adjust this formula according to your specific spreadsheet layout. Once you've set up your rule, choose a formatting style that makes sense, maybe green fill with white text for an increase in sales or red text for any decrease. Now apply the rule and watch as Excel automatically highlights these cells based on our criteria. Conditional formatting isn't just about highlighting data. It can also help us find errors quickly. For example, if we're dealing with a budget where all numbers should be positive, setting up a rule to highlight negative values could alert us to potential overspending or calculation mistakes before they become major issues. All right, everyone, that wraps up our lesson on applying conditional formats for clarity in Excel spreadsheets. Remember, the key is to use these tools strategically. Think about which data points are most important and how you can visually emphasize them to improve your analysis and decision-making processes. Thank you for joining me today. Today, we're diving into the world of designing effective visualizations. Whether you're putting together a PowerPoint presentation or creating charts for your next project meeting, understanding how to craft visuals that really speak to your audience is key. So let's get started with some fundamental tips and tricks. First off, think about who your audience is and what they need from the visualization. Are you presenting data-heavy information to a team of analysts, or are you giving an overview of sales trends to business stakeholders? Knowing this will help guide your design choices. For example, if it's for technical experts, detailed graphs might work well, while simpler charts with clear summaries could be better suited for non-specialists. Next up, choose the right type of visualization. Bar charts are great for comparisons and rankings, line graphs are ideal for trends over time, pie charts show proportions nicely, but don't forget about scatter plots or heat maps if you're dealing with complex data relationships. Now let's talk color. Color can make your visualizations pop, but it needs to be used thoughtfully. Stick to a cohesive palette that enhances readability and doesn't overwhelm the viewer. Bright colors might grab attention, but too many clashing hues could distract from the actual message. And remember, accessibility is important. Ensure there's enough contrast between background and text, for example. Font choice matters too. Sans serif fonts are typically easier on the eyes in digital presentations, so go with something clean like Arial or Helvetica. Keep your text size large enough to be readable at a glance, and choose colors that complement your background. Another crucial point is simplicity. It's easy to overload a visualization with too much information. Instead, focus on clarity by highlighting key points and making sure everything serves a purpose. Less clutter means more impact. Also, don't forget about the layout and spacing between elements. Proper alignment can make all the difference in how professional and polished your visuals appear. And if you're creating multiple visualizations for one presentation or report, consistency is key. Keep styles consistent across similar types of graphics to maintain a cohesive look. Lastly, test out your visualization with peers or colleagues before finalizing it. Getting feedback on readability and clarity can help catch any issues early and ensure the message comes through loud and clear. So there you have it, some basic guidelines for designing effective visualizations that communicate clearly and engage your audience. Today, we're diving into an important topic that impacts everyone's daily digital experience, ensuring accessibility and usability in our designs and products. Imagine you're using your favorite app or website when suddenly you encounter a barrier that makes it difficult to use. This could be due to poor contrast between text and background, lack of alt tags for images, or maybe just confusing navigation. These are all examples of what we aim to avoid by focusing on accessibility and usability. Accessibility isn't just about ticking boxes. It's about creating inclusive experiences that work well for everyone, regardless of ability or circumstance. For instance, providing captions for videos helps those who may be deaf or hard of hearing understand the content fully. Similarly, designing with keyboard navigation in mind ensures users without a mouse can still interact seamlessly. Usability goes hand in hand with accessibility, ensuring that your product is easy to use for everyone. Think about how intuitive and user-friendly Instagram's interface feels. This kind of thoughtful design makes the platform accessible to millions around the world. To achieve both goals, we need to consider different aspects like color contrast, text size, layout structure, and keyboard navigation. Let's take a moment to think about high-ticket items that can significantly improve accessibility. Proper alt tags for images help screen readers describe visuals accurately, making content accessible to visually impaired users. Area roles can enhance the way assistive technologies interpret your website or app, giving additional context to elements like buttons and links. And don't forget about keyboard navigation. Making sure everything works with just a few keystrokes ensures that everyone can use your product effortlessly. To wrap up, remember that ensuring accessibility and usability isn't just a legal requirement. It's also the right thing to do for creating inclusive digital experiences. By considering these aspects from the start of your project, you'll be building something that truly works well for all users. All right, everyone, let's dive into today's lesson on using basic table functions. Tables are everywhere from spreadsheets to databases. They're an essential tool for organizing and analyzing data. So whether you're managing inventory or tracking sales figures, understanding how to work with tables is crucial. Let's start by talking about the basics of creating a table in Excel or Google Sheets. First off, select the range where your data will go. Typically just click and drag across rows and columns. Then, hit Enter or press Ctrl+T CMDT on Mac to turn that selection into an actual table. Once it's created, you'll notice some new formatting options appear, giving you more control over how your data looks. Now, one of the most useful functions is SUM. It adds up all the values in a particular column or row. Just type Summa1, A5 if you want to add up cells A1 through A5. Another handy function is Count, which counts the number of entries in a selected range, great for keeping track of how many items are listed. We can't forget about sorting too. Sorting your data alphabetically or numerically helps keep everything organized and makes it easier to find specific information. To sort a table, just click on any cell within that table, go to the Data tab, choose either ascending or descending order based on what you need, and voila! And then there's filtering, which allows you to show only certain data points while hiding others, perfect for focusing on high-ticket items or low-volume sales. Just click on the filter icon next to your column headers. Lastly, let's talk about formatting tables. You can change font styles, colors, borders, and even add conditional formatting rules that automatically adjust cell appearance based on values like highlighting overages in red or showing discounts with green. So there you have it. These basic functions should get you started on managing any data table effectively. Remember to practice these skills regularly so they become second nature when working with spreadsheets. All right, everyone, welcome back to our Tableau class today. We're diving into something really exciting and powerful: advanced usage of table calculations. Now, if you've been using Tableau for a while, you probably know how useful these are for adding depth to your visualizations. But there's so much more we can do with them once we understand the nitty-gritty details. So let's start by refreshing our memory on what exactly table calculations are. They're formulas that operate within a table, allowing us to perform complex computations across rows and columns right in Tableau itself. Things like running totals, percentiles, or even more advanced stuff like rank ordering can all be done with these handy tools. Now let's take it up a notch. One of the key aspects here is understanding how we set up our calculations correctly so that they work as intended across different parts of your visualization. For example, if you want to calculate a running total for sales over time, you need to make sure it updates properly whenever new data comes in. Another important point to consider is addressing. This feature allows us to specify the direction and level of detail our calculation will follow. So, whether we're looking at rows or columns, or even nested levels within your worksheet, this gives us precise control over how our calculations are applied. We also need to talk about partitioning. By default, Tableau might partition a table calc based on dimensions in view, which could lead to different results than what you expect. For instance, if we're calculating percentiles across multiple regions, we'll want to ensure they're calculated correctly for each region independently. Now let's get into some practical examples. Say we have sales data and we want to find the top-selling product category each month. With table calculations, we can rank our categories dynamically based on their monthly sales figures. This would involve setting up a ranking calculation that resets every time there's a new month. Another cool trick is using nested calculations for more complex scenarios. For instance, if you have high-ticket items and want to compute the percentage of total revenue, each one contributes over different periods. You'd first calculate the cumulative sum of sales for all products, then divide this by individual item sales to get their percentages, and finally use another table calc to rank these values. Lastly, don't forget about using quick table calculations, which can save you time when creating simple ones like percent difference or moving average. These are great for those moments when you just need something basic done fast. All right, so there we have it. We've covered the basics of setting up your table calculations, understanding addressing and partitioning, and even looked at some advanced examples where these come in handy. Remember, practice makes perfect, so play around with these tools and see how they can enhance your visualizations. That's all for today. Thanks for joining me, and I hope you're excited to start using these powerful features in Tableau. Well done, everyone. You've made it through our course on Tableau, a beginner's guide to data visualization, and I couldn't be more proud of you for completing this journey with us. We started by exploring what Tableau is and why it's such an essential tool in the world of data visualization. Then, we dove into setting up your workspace, learning how to install Tableau Desktop, and familiarize yourself with its user interface. From there, we connected to various data sources, importing data and working with multiple sources seamlessly. We moved on to basic visualization techniques like creating simple charts and graphs while understanding the different mark types in Tableau. As we progressed, we covered advanced charting options, building interactive dashboards and incorporating maps into our visualizations. We didn't stop there. We also learned how to filter and sort data to refine views and gain better insights. Then came calculations in Tableau, where you created basic calculated fields and utilized advanced calculation functions. We made sure to spend time on formatting and styling visuals too, customizing colors, fonts, and backgrounds while applying conditional formats for clarity. Of course, we couldn't forget about best practices in data visualization, designing effective visualizations, and ensuring accessibility and usability. Lastly, we introduced you to table calculations with both basic and advanced usage of table functions. The most important takeaway from this course is the understanding that Tableau is a powerful tool that can help you visualize your data effectively. It's essential to remember that practice makes perfect, so don't hesitate to experiment with different visualizations and techniques as you continue learning Tableau. I encourage all of you to apply what you've learned in real-world scenarios. Whether it's for work or personal projects, the skills you've gained here will undoubtedly come in handy. And who knows, you might even discover new ways to use Tableau that we haven't covered yet. As you move forward on your journey with data visualization and Tableau, I wish you all success. Remember, every step counts no matter how small it may seem, so keep exploring and learning. Lastly, if you enjoyed this course and found it helpful, please consider leaving a review or connecting with me to share your thoughts and experiences. Your feedback is invaluable for improving future courses. Thank you once again for being part of this Tableau adventure with us. Until next time, happy visualizing.